Welcome to the Chicago Bears Podcast, a presentation of ESPN Chicago, Chicago's home for sports. Here's your host, Pat, the designer.
Bear down, Bears fans. Another episode of the Chicago Bears Podcast is underway. Pat, the designer, Jonathan Hood in the building, and we actually can hear him this time. We had him on last time, and the audio just sabotaged you. Jay.
I was saying nothing, so no one missed anything there. But hopefully people will be able to hear me. The reason why is because I put on this Bears polo because I knew I'd be on the very popular Chicago Bears podcast with my guy, Pat, the designer. So I put on this polo because I was on a great podcast. And the other reason is wash day. So
it's wash day. Yeah. It was available.
It was the last thing in the pile.
Hey, we do got to address this, though. For everybody who listens to Cap and J Hood on the radio, which everybody should, I was listening in to Crosstalk the other day.
Yes.
Your impersonation of me needs a little work, but I'm not gonna lie to you.
Name the best Pat the designer impersonation.
The best Pat the designer impersonation. I think that would go to you because it's the only one.
That's exactly right. And by the way,
actually, you know what? I can't say that. My wife's got a great one. My wife's dominant. Yeah, I can't.
Actually, you're welcome. I know that eventually you're going to get there, but let's just cut to the chase. You're welcome.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I do appreciate the shout out live on the air.
Yeah.
It's just he's got like the Muhammad Ali hands. And
You do. I told people don't look you directly in the eye because that's what you do to stars.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to grow out here. I'm just a squirrel trying to find a nut out here, man. That's my goal out here. Take that however you want. Let's get into the podcast, though. We got a lot to talk about on today's episode.
You're welcome for the extra plug, but go ahead.
Appreciate the plug. Mongo McMichael Steve Mongo McMichael is now a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. Should he have been there? That's where we'll start this thing off. We've also got one of the most interesting stories to get to because according to PFF, Matt Nagy is a top 10 offensive coordinator in the NFL. I will allow pause for laughter from all Bears fans everywhere. Thank you very much. And we're going to finish this thing off looking at the Lions schedule and talking about kind of where they are going to finish this season. Will they be above the Bears? Because it is Lions week. All that and more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears Podcast. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page. And my God, leave the 5-star review because I love reading them. I had a guy I believe there's one on there. I don't know. He may have changed it because I said it on the pod. It was a 5-star review that was like, it's Bears. I have to give it 5 stars, but the glasses are killing me. Like, I was just like, all right, I can't be mad at you.
Yeah, as long as you leave the 5 stars, whatever.
Leave the 5 stars, say whatever. I'll read some of them on the air one day, honestly. Let's jump into this, though, Hoodie. Mongo and Virginia McCaskey. We talked about Virginia a little bit yesterday on the pod, but Mongo and Virginia both going to be semifinalists for the Hall of Fame. What took so long with this, Hoodie? That's really the angle that I'm coming from. You look at his numbers, 95 sacks over his career. He's 77th all time in sacks right now. Top 100 is crazy in the NFL based on how many players they've been. 4 seasons above 9 sacks in total and a Super Bowl champion. And we're just now getting to him being a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. What is taking so long to get Mongo in the building?
You know, that's a great question because it's been a question that's been asked for a long time. The 85 Bears team, offensive line, defensive line, is the most complete team that I can recall in my lifetime as a Bears fan. Mongo always was a Hall of Famer. He was great at Texas, definitely deserved to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, and he is. But you cannot have a Hall of Fame in which you look at the 85 Bears and say, yeah, only a few of those guys really made a difference. No, Mongo made a difference as well as a defensive lineman for the Chicago Bears. So there's no question that this is well overdue. I'm hoping that he can be able to get the nod. If he gets it posthumously, I think that's criminal. Yeah. I really would like for him while he's alive, and God bless him, he's still with us. I would love for him to know while he's living that he made the Football Hall of Fame. Virginia McCaskey is another story because people will say, well, look at the one-loss record. Look at the Chicago Bears over the years as she's been presiding over it. You never see her. Point is, though, it's a woman, Pat. It's a woman that's an owner of a National Football League team. We have to be able to look at that differently than we look at all the men that are owners in the NFL, because she, after George Halas passed away, she was able to preside over this team. And so because she's a woman in this position, she deserves to be able to be in this special section of the Hall of Fame. I will tell you this. Like, as much as I want for Virginia and for Mongo to be in the Hall of Fame, one thing for sure, the Football Hall of Fame gets it right. It may not be when you want it, but it will happen. Think about baseball, right? You don't have the Cy Young Award winner, one of the great Cy Young Award winners in there. You don't have the hit king in there. You don't have the home run king in there because steroids or because the writers didn't like a certain player or whatever. Basketball, everybody gets in as a public toilet. Everybody gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame. But the NFL,
high school hooper played 3 years. He's in.
You're in, right? But for the NFL, they always get it right. And so I think that at some point we'll see both of them in the Hall of Fame. I'd love for them to be alive to see it, though.
No, 100%. And I think that's the part that kind of irks me is when you look at Mongo's stats, right? You start to see players above him when you look at the all-time sacks list, right? But there are players that played after him. There are players on that list that came after he had his great success, and they're going to be Hall of Famers. They're going to be first ballot Hall of Famers more than likely, right? And my issue is that we get to a point, I do agree, they're going to get it right. Mongo's gonna get in. He's a surefire Hall of Famer. We know that. But it shouldn't be we're having this conversation. I hate seeing the knock at the doors of the family because the player is already passed on or the player is now sick. And now we want to make this decision because we got to get it in so that he can see himself go into the Hall of Fame. It's like this should have been done. I'm 28 years old. Mongo hasn't played a snap of football since for 2 years of my life. He played a snap of football, basically.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here telling me that this guy couldn't get in when guys after him are going to get in before him, when guys after him who have gotten more sacks than him are going to, like, this. Moments like this are a joke to me. I do hope he gets in. I don't know if you saw the tweet from Jared Payton where he was with Mongo when they found out that he was a semifinalist. Mongo's still smiling, still got that smile on his face. Yeah. Love to see that, but this is too long overdue for me. Way too long overdue.
Yeah, Mongo and I did a lot of post-game shows together and some remotes over the years when he was, able to do so at ESPN 1000. So I got a chance to know Mongo and his wife a lot better because we were teammates together on the air. And so it's funny, he never bellyached to me about the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Never did. He was proud to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, but he never really talked about that because he understands how talented the Bears were across the board. Just because Mike Singletary was a middle linebacker, he made some plays, there's no doubt. But it doesn't make Mongo less than. When we take a look at Dan Hampton, an amazing player for his years, for our young audience, make sure you go to YouTube and just check it out for yourself. If you don't have the stomach to watch the entire games, I can understand because there's a lot of violence with those 85 Bears. But
different sport.
Yeah. So if you want to watch the NFL films clips, which you don't really get anymore, by the way, because the NFL doesn't want to be able to promote violence like they used to, but it's on YouTube. Watch how strong Mongo was. Yeah. And so I remember toward the end of his career, right, he's taking on Barry Sanders. And I always thought that Walter Payton was the greatest running back I ever saw, but I also thought that Barry Sanders was the greatest runner I ever saw. If you ever saw Barry Sanders, check him out on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Mongo and the Bears are taking on the Lions in Detroit. And Mongo is coming off the line, and he wraps up Barry Sanders around the waist once. He gets him twice. He wraps him up around the ankles 3 times, and Barry still got past him. And the third time, you can see it on film, Mongo waving his hand like, forget it. Like as if he said, you know what, I tried to tackle you 3 times, and I still couldn't get you down. And you can see on film Mongo waving his hand like, screw this. I can't get you. Like giving up on not necessarily giving up on the play, but just exasperated. Like I can't get this guy. Yeah. But he was colorful. Mongo's always was a colorful player, but also a dominant player as well. And by the way, it doesn't stop there, Pat, because look at that offensive line. Jay Hilgenberg's down the Hall of Fame. Like there's a number of guys that really made a difference for the 85 team that also should be in the Hall of Fame.
No, 100%. And I think the part that Here's what I always say, right? For every dominant linebacker, there's usually a pretty good defensive lineman in front of them. When you look at that 1985 team, the linebackers are in, right? Nobody's questioning any of the linebackers on that team being Hall of Famers. But there were a lot of holes opened up for those linebackers to make a lot of the plays that they were able to make. I mean, it's Mike Singletary might have had, not to say the easiest job, but he absolutely might have had one of those jobs where it's made a lot easier when you can just like see chasms opening up and be like, hey, there's a quarterback there that I can go kill. I got time. Do I have time for this? Can we get a sandwich real quick? I'm going to go get him. I want a sandwich when I get back. Thanks. Like that. Those are the things that kind of, and it's how often do we talk about this, right? The unsung guys in sports, the guys that make the superstar's life easier, the guys that make the guy who's in the limelight's life easier. To me, that's Mongo here. I again, long overdue, but I mean, you've worked with them. You've spent a ton of time with them. Yeah. What's your favorite Mongo moment of just being around working with Mongo?
Okay, I'll tell you one of my favorite moments is when Mongo was coaching. Mongo coached the Chicago Slaughter Arena League team.
Yeah,
at the Sears Center. And guess who played for Mongo? This guy played for Mongo. This guy right here. So I suit up. I'm wearing 99. Of course, I'm wearing 99. I got to fill up that jersey, right? I mean, me wearing a single digit would look kind of strange, right? A guy that looks like an
like that.
One. Could you imagine that on me? That wouldn't work, right? So I'm wearing 99, and I'm on the bench, and I'm supposed to be part of the special teams. And the game's close, and I'm about to jump over the wall to get on the field. And I got one foot out, and I got another one about to get over the wall to get on the field. And Mongo comes over and says, "Hoodie, not right now. Game's too close." So I had to go back. I had to go back and sit on the bench because he thought that I would like cost the team like a special teams error, whatever it was, right? But I was ready, man. Mouthpiece in, ready to go, man. Helmet on. I'm locked in. I'm about to jump off. "Hoodie, not right now, brother. The game's too close. The game's too close. Can't have you cost the game." Like that was him, man. That's a great moment.
I love it. Yeah. And the funny thing is, if I'm not mistaken, if you Google Jonathan Hood right now, that picture's still on your top images on Google of you in the Chicago Slaughter jersey. I am pretty sure, Eric, we need to splice this in whatever clip we can. It's still there. And see if we can find the footage of a Hoodie one leg over the wall. I want to see that more so than anything. Just like, what do you mean, Mongo? I'm ready.
Yeah, there is it. It is me in a uniform out there. Yes, playing for Mongo. Yes, but yeah, he was great to work with. There was always scheduling errors with Mongo too, because you didn't think you'd see him unless it was just during football season. Somehow we got together and we did a show. I still have the poster in my hood cave downstairs. Jonathan Hood and Steve McMichael broadcasting live from someplace during March Madness. Mongo is not Dick Vitale, okay? So the idea that he goes, Illinois is in the Sweet 16. Illinois, that's good. Back to you. Like why was he working with me at some bar show for March Madness? I have no idea, but he was great to work with. For the time that I had with him for about 2 seasons doing Bears post games.
Gotta love it, man. The NFL, get it right. Get them in there. Get Virginia in there too. I mean, Virginia, like you said, is a completely different conversation. And the one thing that we always hear, and whenever we heard this, that's when we knew change was coming. And it does tell me that, listen, no matter what the Bears are, the family does care about the team. Whenever you heard mom's mad, somebody's getting fired. Oh, okay. Hi. Everybody prepare. Batten down the hatches. New regime's coming in. Why? Mom's mad.
Yeah. That's what George said. Mom's pissed. That's what he said. And so it's like, so you knew that there was change coming. And she really is, Pat, the white whale. She is. Because I can put on one hand quotes from Virginia McCaskey over the last 30 years. Because, you would think, she'd be, big pieces in the Sun-Times, Tribune, long thoughts on the Bears. Anytime that there was changes, wouldn't see Virginia. She'd be working behind the scenes. And so that was her choice. But I always thought whoever got a chance to really sit down with her, long form conversation about her dad, her family, running the Chicago Bears, I think that would have been really great for the next woman that want to be an owner, right? Think about it. Virginia McCaskey with her long thoughts, long form interview about, hey, I've been running the Bears and here's the do's and don'ts. And here's the thing that frustrated me. Here's what made me happy. But really never got that from Virginia. But again, still deserves to be in there because, hey, this is all about guys. This is all about men being owners in the National Football League. And here she is representing as a woman. So definitely she deserves to be in.
Absolutely. And we had Jason on and we had Greg Gabriel on yesterday and just talking with them about being around Virginia. And they were like, she's the nicest person you've ever met in your life. Like she'll sit there and have a 15-minute conversation with you about life. And then like by the end of it, you're just like, hey, for me, I'd just be like, oh yeah, you're a billionaire. Like I kind of did it when we were at the football draft party. Somebody, I think it was Danny or somebody introduced me to George, and I'm sitting there shaking hands with George McCaskey, and he's just like, "Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. What do you do? Pleasure to meet you." I was like, I just shook hands with a billionaire. Like, what? How often do you get that opportunity? You know what I mean?
The George is the closest to us of the McCaskies that I've dealt with over the last 30 years doing this, because George still is hanging out with season ticket holders, still out there, with the barbecues before the game at Soldier Field. Like he was a guy that was close to the people that were buying the tickets. He'd be sitting in the stands. Yeah. So, I mean, when he was hands off of the organization and not, running the day to day, he was just like the rest of us, like another boob out there with the barbecues and walking through the parking lot, and even through these lean times, still willing to go through. He's got that that Archie jacket, that Bears jacket, and he still goes through there. You got to like that because he's not running away. He could easily pull up in a limo, go through the side entrance, and be like, I don't want to deal with these people. No, he's front facing, and I think that's good.
He's asking the same questions we are, Jay. Could you have gone back in that game? I feel like you could have gone back in that game, Jay.
Yeah.
I don't know. To this day, he's still asking questions. Can we bring in Cairo again? I don't know. Can we get Cairo back here?
Yeah. I mean, and you love the fact, by the way, that he's not afraid to say, hey, you know what? I don't know that much about the inner workings of day-to-day football as far as the roster and all that. Because look, there's a number of people that Pat, without giving names, that will be in these positions and fake it. Be like, you know what? I was given this position. It pays well. It gives me power. It gives me stock options, maybe down the line. But the point is, though, is that George knows what he knows. He's not trying to alter the roster or make changes. I like the idea that you put a Kevin Warren, a strong figure in there as the president of this team. He's got Ryan Poles, the guy that's learning on the job as a young guy. But Warren is a guy that's going to be able to help build the stadium. He's already done it with Minnesota. You take a look at that front office, and it's like, I never thought I'd see the day. And it's happening under George's watch.
Would you say it's weird, right? Because it's so funny. I felt like even with the lean times, and it's so odd to give praise to George McCaskey, but I have to. I feel like George has heard us more than any owner probably in football hears their fans. I feel like George has heard the complaints that Bears fans have had and has made some changes with that, or even heard the stigmas about his team, right? Like, remember before we drafted Justin, and you hate to say it, but it was out there that the Chicago Bears don't want a black quarterback. And it was like, we drafted the first one. And then you find out that the Bears are leaders of the diversity collection that they have in the NFL now, and that they're the ones putting people in. And it's like, George is he's an owner that it does feel like you said, he's a fan as well. And he also knows his limits. When he was like, I'm just a fan. Matt and Ryan are our football guys.
Yeah, he's just a fan. He's just the owner. Yeah, I get that. It's interesting because people hear that and think that that's a negative or that's a sour tone. Like, why is diversity important? It's not just diversity in skin color. It's diversity of thought.
Yes.
Because the same thoughts have been in there for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, where it's the same people. And by the way, nothing says loyalty like Chicago across the board with our Chicago sports teams. I mean, people have been in jobs forever. The point is that the diversity is not about, oh, got to hire a black, got to hire a woman, got to hire a Latino. Yes, that is important. But also it's important to have a diversity of thought. People are from different backgrounds. They have different experiences. And if you've had the same experience and not been able to strike luck to have, sustained success or world or Super Bowl championships, maybe it's time to hear a different voice or different voices. Yeah. And I'm glad that the Chicago Bears are at the top as far as the DEI is concerned. And on top of that, a diversity of thought. Kevin Warren is like my Kevin Warren to me is like my ancestors' dreams. What do you think about it, right? He's at the top of the Chicago Bears? Yeah. For real? Yeah. Him? But again, it'd be someone else in the past, right? It'd be like, he's a good football man. We'll bring him in because he's a good football man. No, Kevin Warren is a businessman, and he's worked at every single level to be able to get to where he is right now. And he's going to help build a stadium because of his success. Yeah. And because he helped do that in Minnesota. So diversity is twofold for me. Does it matter if you're black or Latino or a woman? No. What matters also is to have different backgrounds where you have different voices in the room to be able to come up with, one consensus to help your organization.
Well, even right when you talk about diversity of thought, even the fact that we had never hired somebody from the outside. We had never hired somebody from a winning organization to do anything. We're getting first-time head coaches. We're getting GMs that have basically just been in the building and like, hey, Dave, what you got going on? You want to run the Bears? Cool, let's do it. I mean, there's so much of that, like starting off with Ryan Poles, going over to Kevin Warren now. Like you're seeing guys from outside the organization who have come in and been like, we know why you guys were the laughingstock. We're not going to do that.
That's right. That's right.
I swear. I said this. I said, because remember, George McCaskey came out with his list of coaches that he wanted. I said, Ryan looked at that list and was like, all right, appreciate you, George. Don't call any of those guys. So we've got Flus on the line here.
Yes.
Call Dave Hole. Don't call anybody on that list.
Mm-hmm. Like I got a guy that can help us get from A to B and maybe B to C.
We'll see. B to C is going to be the question. Let's hope we get from A to B. But we actually do have to talk about somebody that was at the A phase of this team who PFF has ranked top 10 in the NFL. I want to get your thoughts on this list, Hoodie, because PFF ranked the top 10 offensive coordinators in the NFL entering 2023. Number one on the list, Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions. I can live with that. I like that. Jared Goff looks like he's a little bit more competent. I think he's going to have a little bit more of a test with his weapons this year, but I like that. Mm-hmm. Number two, Kellen Moore. Three's Bill O'Brien.
Well, Kellen Moore, we're going to see, right?
Yeah. Question marks on Kellen Moore.
But because, and here's the thing with Dak Prescott, right? We're talking about Dallas Cowboys. Okay. So this season will tell me a greater story than I could ever tell. Is Dak Prescott who he is? Or can someone unlock the mystery of Dak Prescott for him to be better? We're going to find out. Because at this point in time, my opinion is that who Dak is who he is. Can he be more than who he is? We'll see.
Well, I mean,
we'll see.
He's so weird, right? Because he was with them. He was more aggressive in Dallas. Now he's going to be with the Chargers. Is that going to fix anything? That change anything?
Gotta find out.
We'll find out. Bill O'Brien's 3. That's gross. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says.
Bill O'Brien. Well, that's perfect for the Patriots because that's a familiar face, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so here's what happens. This is a reclamation project. You go from the Alabama Crimson Tide to the New England Patriots. If you are able to help out Mac Jones at offense, all of a sudden, Bill O'Brien's right back in the mix to be a head coach again. He was not bad with the Texans now. He wasn't.
Well, the Deshaun helps. Here's what I will say. He was a better head coach than he was a GM. I think he understood that certain things were needed for his quarterback to survive, and he was willing to risk it all for that. and relax. And
risk it all. That's
on the field. Certain things were needed on the football field for his quarterback to survive.
Oh, you meant on the field. Okay, I understand now.
Calm down there, Woodrow.
I misunderstood.
And I think he risked a little bit too much to go get that, right? Laramie Tunsil comes in, absolute asset, but now you can't really build up that defense the way you want to, blah, blah, blah. Number 5, Ken Dorsey. I'm sorry, number 4, we skipped one. Shane Waldron, Seattle. I like that. I like that where he's at on the list, what he did with Geno. Can't be wrong with that. Ken Dorsey is 5 in Buffalo. Okay.
Ken Dorsey, remember him in Miami. My God. And now the offensive coordinator for the Bills. So will the Bills be able to get over the hump? That's a big question too. Like everyone's waiting for them to get to the Super Bowl. They're on the precipice of, being able to break through. Let's see what Ken Dorsey can do. Okay, pretty good at 5.
6 is Bieniemy. I feel like Bieniemy needs to be higher because 1, expectation. 2, we already know what he can do because he's actually calling the plays. There's always this, like, I don't know if Andy Reid, how many times Andy Reid has to say it, but he literally was just like, Bieniemy's calling the plays. Bieniemy's calling the plays. But is Andy calling the plays? No, Eric Bieniemy was calling the plays. I think he's going to be able to call plays in Washington. I don't know if he has the talent for them to execute the plays, and that's the question.
Nobody believes it. He keeps saying Bieniemy's calling the plays, but then Andy Reid would also have the pizza menu in front of him as well. So I think it confused people. Like, who is calling the plays?
Is that what the defense is thinking about on the field? Like, we got 2 menus out here.
Yeah,
who's calling it? Where do we look?
Right?
I don't like this one, and this is where to me the PFF lists always get funky. Todd Monken's for the Ravens is 7. Mm-hmm. He's never called a play. How's he top 10?
Collinsworth must like him.
Is that what it is? That's
what this list is. I mean,
Chris's favorite. Chris's top 10.
I mean, these are people that he likes. I mean, it's cool that we're going through the list because we can go back and forth on it, but these are Collinsworth's guys. That's what it is.
It's not PFF's top 10. Chris's top 10. It's just an intern that's like, give me your top 10 OCs in the league. He's struggling to remember the other 22 of them.
Yeah.
He just throws out the names he knows. Here's where I think Bears fans' ears will perk up. Number 8. Matthew Nagy.
Well, that's a joke.
Top 10?
No, that's a joke. That's a joke. Now, listen, when it comes to the 3 and out or the touchdown for Patrick Mahomes and him Nagy sitting next to Mahomes and saying, look at this Microsoft. Look at these pictures. You look good when you were able to cock that ball and throw it down the field or when you scramble out of the pocket. I mean, I've seen that a million times with Nagy since he's come back with the Chiefs. The idea that he's just got the Polaroid, has got the it's like, hey, this looked pretty good here. Yeah. As far as calling the plays, we're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out because it's either if it doesn't work, I'm just going to predict it now. Somehow, some way during the season, Andy Reid will take that playbook back.
Well, that's my point with all of this, right? With the Bears, when there was no one to take the playbook back, we saw how it went. Right? It wasn't pretty. You're not using guys the right way. You can't come up with a blocking scheme to help Justin Fields in the slightest that last season versus Cleveland in that game. I mean, the mindset of, let's send the 40-year-old out against Myles Garrett should have had him with 40 lashes already. But then outside of that, in his time with the Chiefs calling plays, we've heard that Andy Reid took the play calling back. And even right – towards the end when it was, Matt Nagy kind of showing out in the AFC games and then it gets to the championship game and all of a sudden when mistakes are made in the second half, oh no, I was calling the plays. I was calling the plays. And Matt gets to Chicago, nope, I was calling it. And we know people were excited about that. He's an honest man. We can trust him. He's honest. Then he lied to us for 3 years in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, we're gonna find out, right? Matt Nagy calling these plays. If there's something wrong with the offense, I'm going to point at.
Yeah, I'm not shooting him bail anymore.
No.
I can't because we just know what Matt Nagy is, and these are the things that irritate me because these are the lists that get guys jobs again, and he's going to ruin some other quarterback. Listen, we all agree Mitch is bad, but Mitch tried. The stories that we heard coming out of Chicago at the end of all of this were insane. He doesn't show up to a meeting with Mitch Trubisky after the season when Mitch is trying to find out the things he needs to work on in the offseason. Matt's on vacation already. Matt's in Hawaii. You know what I mean? Already waiting it out.
Okay. I mean, here's the keys. All right. Here's the keys. Don't mess up this Lambo. The Lambo being Patrick Mahomes. Do not mess this up. Yeah. If you mess it up, you're gonna be in trouble. We're gonna put you on timeout.
You got a lot of keys there, Hoodie. What are you opening over here, bud?
I got a lot of homes.
A lot of properties.
I got a lot of properties
for Hood.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm trying to get like you.
I got a lot of cars, a lot of properties, a lot of gates to open around here. A lot of gates. I live in the city, so I got a lot of places. I got to put a lot of locks on. So
yeah, I respect it. Number 9, Jim Bob Cooter, just to finish out the list for the Colts. I just wanted to say that just to say Jim Bob Cooter. Always take an opportunity when you can to say his name.
Dirty old man.
And then number 10 is Brian Schottenheimer with the Dallas Cowboys.
We're gonna find out, won't we? Like, I think it's fascinating that Nagy makes that list in the top 10 when he has not worked with Patrick exclusively in a few years. Remember the Bears stint and now coming back and just showing him pictures. I can't wait to see it. I think that Mahomes can be able to flourish despite whatever Nagy's going to tell him. Like, the playbook is the playbook. You just can't screw it up. That's all.
Yeah. How many weeks do we realistically give him, though? I think that's the funny thing, right? Like, I'm just like, Andy's taking it back by week 4.
Oh, 5. Yeah, I had it 5.
You gave him 5 weeks. I'm like, Andy's taking it. And here's why. Because if it might be 3. If there's any chance that the Chicago Bears win the game versus the Chiefs, that will be the end of Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator. Pat Mahomes throws 2 picks. You know what I mean? Bears defense looks as stout.
You know, I know it's unpopular to say, but I'll say it anyway because that's what I do. When it comes to Nagy and Justin Fields, I'll just put it there. The Trubisky stuff, I'm putting that to the side. I'm pretending like it didn't happen. But I'm going to go and look at the whole thing with Nagy and Justin Fields. At the time that Justin Fields had to be pressed in the service and to be able to start against Cleveland, I said at the time, it's not that Justin isn't ready. The Bears aren't ready for Justin.
Yeah.
You remember this whole thing in the offseason, right? He's not ready. Okay, because Nagy and the staff didn't get him ready, right? You got to realize that Justin Fields was a different type of quarterback than what you had on the roster, meaning that, yes, he can be able to throw in the pocket, but also he can run. The way that was so set up where there was not an extra blocker or 2 on the field to protect Justin Fields was just amazing to me. Now, again, hats off to the Browns because the Browns defense was stout. They were fast, and they were getting after Justin Fields. I get that. But I always thought in the back of my mind, Pat, I'm like, you know what? The Bears aren't ready for Justin Fields. They did not have the infrastructure to say, we need a fullback to chip, or we need an extra running back to chip, or the tight end needs to block. Whatever it was, right? They were not ready for Justin. So the firing was justified because, hey, offensive guru, what do you got for Justin Fields? Not much. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And that's such a great point because when you look at even coming in, right, what was the number one thing that Matt was doing the entire time? We got a great relationship with Allen Robinson. We love Allen Robinson. The one weapon that Justin Fields might have had, we find out you're icing him out. We're not having real conversations with this guy. We're not actually trying to build this relationship. You want to know why? Because Justin and Darnell are closer in age. So we want them to be friends. We want them to get close, and that's going to be our number 1-2 combo. That was your game plan? Yeah. That was the best thing that you could have come. You had Allen Robinson on the right. And I get it. He wasn't the same Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars even early on with Mitch. But he was sure-handed. You could have got the ball to him if you at least include him in the offense. He spent an entire season being a decoy.
And I'll never forget toward the end of his tenure, Nagy was being a smartass and ran the football 10 straight plays. Do you remember this? Was this on a Thursday night or a Monday Night Football, something like that, where he ran the football exclusively?
I believe it was Monday night.
And I was like, you know what? And when he first got here, Nagy didn't get it. He didn't get it. Like, I understand we're meat and potatoes, and we grew up watching the Bears, have a strong defense and run the football. I mean, I know that that's just kind of like the hallmark of Bears football over the years. But the idea that he comes in, I remember that one of those first press conferences, Bears lose, and Potsy or someone asked the question. It's like, hey, it's funny, you went away from the run. How come you didn't run the football? And he goes, what, for fantasy stats? I mean, what's the whole thing about running the football around here? I keep hearing that. Because running the football on tall grass works. That's why. That's why, because the running game matters. The passing game wasn't doing anything. So that's why it was good to be able to run the play. He never got that. That was in his first year. It must be for you guys in the media must be a bunch of fantasy guys. No, you still got to run the football in the as much as you can because the passing game sucked. Yeah, that's why he never got that.
My favorite is when he goes, I didn't come here to run the I. And then, like, the next week, he runs, like, 3 I formations. He's like, wait a minute. Hold on. I thought you weren't here to run the I. And then oh, my God. The part that kills me about him most was the thing that I at least love about Flus, love about Ryan. They got a plan. This is my plan. My plan doesn't change based off how you guys feel. We're running our plan. We're executing our plan. He would come out after the game, and he's like, you guys see I ran that football there? Do you like that? You like that? It's like, are you looking for our validation?
Man.
The head football coach of the Chicago Bears is looking for the validation of Courtney Cronin and Mark Potash out in the seats asking questions. Like, I love both of them, but my God, come on, dog. Like, a joke of a time. Let's get off of this topic before we go too deep down memory lane. And we call that PTSD on Locked On Bulls. That's what we call that. Whenever we go, we're just like, remember when we could have gotten a shooting guard and didn't?
Yeah.
Let's finish it out with this hoodie. We got Lions Week here. How we're going to bring the episode.
You don't have a Dale and Terry question for me?
A Dale and Terry hoodie. I mean, on the Chicago Bears podcast hoodie, do you feel like Dale and Terry would run the football?
Dale and Terry is dysentery. That's what he is.
Okay, all right. We're getting Terry shots on the pod. He does throw that ball long. I'm gonna lie, long passes with the arm. We got to figure that out. 18th overall pick. Meanwhile, Julian Phillips just got 4 years guaranteed.
Yep.
When you look at this Lions team, when you look at kind of how this season is going to start off for them, Hoodie, where do you feel like the Lions are going to finish out? A lot of people have talked about them being the class of the division, going through the schedule. I mean, you start week 1 versus the Chiefs. Matt Nagy's calling plays. Maybe you do get a win. But I feel like that's going to be a Chiefs win in that scenario. Seahawks week 2 to me is tough. How you feel? I think they could start off the season 0-2. How you feeling about the Lions?
I think that first of all, I think they're going to be the class of the division this year. And that might not necessarily with them doing it like in a runaway. That's not what I mean. Yeah. What I'm saying is that I was really impressed. And I'm not a Dan Campbell fan because I always think if the head coach is putting himself out there too much, then you got not necessarily a good football team. I mean, I've seen the Weiches, the Glanvilles, the Rex Ryans, guys like that always want to be all up in the video and want to be able to tell you what they're thinking. And my whole thing is like, as a football coach, you just chill, right? Yeah. You don't see Mike Tomlin trying to get all up in the video, being smiley and funny and cute. He's just trying to tell you that he wants his football team to win. And so with Dan Campbell, like I have to say, I'm not saying that I'm wrong about Campbell yet. I'm just impressed on how they were able to finish out the season. Yeah. Nothing to play for. They go into Lambeau and they beat the Packers' ass. They didn't have to do that. They were like, we're not in the playoffs. We'll put some backups in there to kind of evaluate for next year. They didn't do that. They played hard for Campbell. And he's emotional, Campbell. The hope is that the staff around him and the players around him can supersede what Dan Campbell is. I just think I'm not big with the histrionics. I'm just good. I'm good with their football team. I have their schedule pulled up. It's going to be very difficult for them to win opening night. Obviously, the NFL feels good about the Lions and what they did to put them in this spot at Kansas City. It's hard to win at Arrowhead, so that's a loss. Yeah. Taking on Seattle back at home, that's a coin flip for me. Atlanta's trying to make their way back up. They have Ritter as a young quarterback. They have some pieces, but they're not ready to win yet. At Green Bay will tell a great story because that's on Amazon Prime. It's a Thursday night game at Green Bay. Who are you on the road? I know who you were last year. You beat Green Bay. Who are you? Carolina is retooling. Tampa is retooling. Baltimore's still formidable. Raiders have to figure out who they are post-Carr. The bye week's always very difficult because you never know if you win or lose in the bye week. The Chargers, the Bears, the Packers, the New Orleans Saints. So I think that they can have a good season, Pat. I think that they can win the division. But as far as their shelf life in the playoffs, I'm not so sure. This is all predicated on offense because they got the weapons, strong offensive line, really solid defense. So I'm impressed by what they have. How sustainable it is, I don't know. But think about the landscape. Green Bay with Jordan Love, the Bears trying to make their way back up there again after a 3-win season, and Minnesota, who I think will make a little bit of a slide back. They were very lucky last year on what they did. So I really believe Detroit should be able to be the winner, hands down, in this division.
It's going to be interesting to see. I see a lot of teams on here. I see the losses that I think maybe a lot of they're going to have to prove to me are going to be wins, right? Like, to me, Baltimore is still a loss. Chargers is still a loss. I have more faith in the Seahawks than I do in the Lions, but I think, like you said, that could be a coin flip. Chiefs is still a loss. I think that they will end up splitting with the Bears this season, probably. Saints, to me, is probably a loss. Broncos revamped is probably a loss. Sean Payton down there now.
Yeah.
And Vikings, I mean, the Vikings are the Vikings. So you never know what that team – that team could be – and they've got a Vikings-Cowboys-Vikings week on that to finish out the season. That could be like Kirk Cousins at his best, the best 3 weeks you're going to get out of him, or that could be Kirk Cousins at his worst and you sweep him. So it's a coin toss, but I do think that here's the part that does excite me about this season the most. We've done this for the last 4 weeks, or 3 weeks, I should say, getting ready for training camp. Nobody seems like they're the best team by a mile.
Right.
And in the NFL, that's a scary place to be, because if you've got the Bears breathing down your neck, or you've got the Vikings breathing down your neck going into an important game, Yurko said it best one day he was in here. He said those are double losses. And the Bears know that, and the Vikings know that. And I'm sure I don't know if the Packers take as big of a drop back as people are expecting, but when you're coming into the divisional games this year, this is going to be a fun year for NFC North fans, because the divisional games are going to mean so much this season, because of how much is going to be on the stage. If you lose one game, that could put you out of it. That's how it's going to be toward the end of the season.
I'm glad you scrolled down to the bottom, because I didn't see that at the bottom. That could determine the division winner.
Yeah.
That week 18, because you said the Vikings are 2 out of 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, Vikings, Cowboys. You have Lions versus Vikings, Lions versus Cowboys on December 30th, and then Vikings versus Lions again in Detroit to finish it out.
Man, I mean, I'm not saying anything about the Vikings that you don't already know. I just think that they were blessed with good luck. You saw that point differential; it was just weak. You saw the Giants. Yeah, it's fine. Hey man, hey, listen, no shade on them. You need some luck in this National Football League. I'm just saying, like, that luck don't happen every year. At some point, Kirk Cousins at offense have to have some skill. Yeah. And it just showed you in that Giants game. It's like, man, that's not the Vikings that many saw in the regular season. The best bet in Vegas was to bet on the Giants in that situation. The defense let down for the Vikings, so we'll see. But don't be surprised that, during that time, December 30th into January, that could determine the division winner. We'll see.
100%. I mean, what do you have your standings at right now? If you were going to gonna be a betting man and say this is how the NFC North is gonna finish, how do you have your standings playing out?
So it starts with Detroit, then Minnesota. The Bears go from 3 to, at this point, I have it 7 wins. Mm-hmm. I think Vegas is 7.5, so I got it at 7. I have a right to change by the time we get through a training camp, by the way. That might be 8, and maybe the Bears are second. I have 3 times to change, okay? When the schedule first comes out.
Yeah.
When training camp's over. And right before the first game of the season for the Bears. That's when so at this point in time, I have them 3rd and the Packers last.
Okay.
And so and 3 to 7 wins, by the way, I'm good. Yes, I want them in the playoffs, Pat, but it's just like, if you go from 3 to 7 wins or 3 to 8 wins, it's like, wow, you're on your way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said this multiple times. I think that the Bears can win 9. I think their floor is 7. But all I want to see at the end of the season is when that in the hunt thing pops up and they're doing that on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football every week, Bears, just Bears logo right there. Boom, in the hunt. I need to see that almost every week because I do think the Bears have a very probably back and forth schedule. There's going to be more times than not where the Bears win 2 games, drop 2 games, win 1 game, drop a game. You know what I mean? It's going to be very back and forth. And I feel that way about almost every team in the division. I mean, looking at the Lions, I think they could drop the first 2. They could win the next 3. They could, or win the next 4. They could drop 2 after that. They could win the next 2. You know, like it's the NFC North to me schedule is very, very balanced. And I think that those divisional games, like you talked about, if the Bears end up splitting with the Lions or, you know, all the division splits, the Bears end up splitting with the Vikings and the Vikings split with the Lions. Like we could be sitting here by the end of this thing. Like, okay, everybody's, you know, 8-7. What's going to be the determining factor that finishes this thing off? Who's going to be able to close it out? So it'll be interesting to see. But Hoodie, we appreciate you coming on the podcast yet again. Always love having the OG on, the man who probably believed in me first. No disrespect to Danny Zetterman, but Hoodie was calling me 2 years before you were, and but he never sent an application. Just playing. But as always, man, we appreciate you guys for showing love. Hoodie, where can the people hear you? Where can they find you? And what do you have going on?
I'd like for you on the video side to show our social media. Is Eric in there with our social media? Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So here's what I have a problem with. Like, yes, we're on Twitter. Remember Twitter when it was hot? Twitter. But, you know, I don't see like J Hood on Spill. Where's that at?
You got the Spill. You're a Spill guy.
Yeah. Where is J Hood on Threads? Where is Pat the Designer on Threads? That's where it's at, man. This is a young show. I mean, Twitter was once a thing. I remember Twitter, man. It was so cool back in the day. But now I need Pat the Designer on Threads. Is that Threads? And I need that J Hood on Threads, and I need my Spill on there as well. Jonathan Hood on Spill. You're not on Spill yet, are you, Pat?
I am on Spill. I did get a code, and I'm in on Spill.
Let me find
you gotta throw Pat the Designer in. First off, I'm Pat the Designer on everything. Nobody else has tried to take that name from me yet, and I will fight them. But at the end of the day, here's the best thing. I mean, Spill is the cookout right now. You know what I mean? It hasn't gotten there. Spill is the cookout. You know what I mean? There's a lot going on over on Spill that's just like you go through there and you're just like, hey man, I'm just trying to chill. Oh, a drink? I might as well stick around. As well, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's what I need right now. I need a Pat. I mean, I'm on Spill. You're on Spill. Like this but I see it right here. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
and of course, Pat, of course, as usual, Pat's always confused. All these social media platforms got me confused. LOL.
Hey, there's a lot. They all came out aggressive at once. There
it is. Pat the Designer, always confused. So I'm hitting the follow button because now there you go. You're serving 19, so now you can follow me.
Hey, it's always good. It's always good. Got to follow Hoodie back here. I'm not too big for it. We'll do it live on air here if I can find it. See, this is what I'm talking about here. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there he is, Jonathan Hood. We got to work on the camera angles, Hoodie. We got to get the angles right. We got to get some professional angles for you with it. We'll get you right on social media. Don't you worry, bud. Don't you worry.
All my angles are good. I got 4 of them.
As always, man, we appreciate you guys for showing love.
What do you mean?
Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Make sure you guys are tuned in with Cap and J Hood Monday through Friday every morning. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. The Chicago Bears podcast. I'm Pat the Designer. Bear down. Peace.
What about the angle?